Hi, this is the second part, educational purposes, fair use, for educational purposes. Or like I said, every time I say it, I'm going to say it again. Only applies to the person, I'm not a person. I'm a man, an individual. Part 2, ad hominem. Types of ad hominem arguments. There are several different types of ad hominem arguments. What they all have in common is that the individual using these arguments is attacking their opponent directly by using information that is irrelevant to the discussion instead of addressing the point that their opponent is trying to make. As such, the difference between the various types of ad hominem arguments is that each of them attacks the source of the opposing argument in a different way. Some of these attacks are relatively sophisticated and can even be rendered reasonable using a few modifications, while others are simply crude and abusive and should never appear in proper discourse. Poisoning the well. Poisoning the well is a rhetorical technique where someone presents unrelated negative information about their opponent with the goal of discrediting everything that their opponent says. An example of poisoning the well argument is the following. Alice, I think that we should increase the federal spending on education. No, I don't think you should, Alice. No, seriously, I don't. Because it's based on the Prussian education system using the servile and utilitarian arts. Bob, you're a fascist, so clearly we shouldn't listen to what you have to say about education. Credentials fallacy. The credentials fallacy is a logical fallacy which occurs when someone dismisses an argument and attacks its source directly by stating that the individual who made that argument doesn't have sufficient credentials in the field being discussed. An example of the credentials fallacy is the following. Alice, studies have overwhelmingly shown that you should vaccinate your children. No, you shouldn't. I don't think you should. But it's up to you if you want to do that. I'm not telling anyone what to do, but I personally don't think you should, from the evidence that I've seen. Bob, you are not a doctor, so there's not reason for me to listen to you. See, I think that typo there, I think it should be, you are not a doctor, so there's no reason for me to listen to you, sorry. Appeal to motive, circumstantial ad hominem. An appeal to motive, the main type of circumstantial ad hominem, is an argument that dismisses a certain stance by questioning the motives of the individual who supports it. An example of an appeal to motive argument is the following. Alice, I think that we should increase the federal spending on education. Bob, you are only saying that because you want to show support for the president that you voted for. There we go again, education. I said some of these things here are not my opinions anyway. I don't think this stuff. These are just examples what the mainstream would say. Appeal to hypocrisy, tu quo quo. An appeal to hypocrisy, also known as tu quo quo, is an argument that attempts to discredit an individual by suggesting that their argument is inconsistent with their previous acts. An example of an appeal to hypocrisy argument is the following. I think that we should increase the federal spending on education. What is it with education and the website here? Bob, you clearly don't even care about public education since you sent your own kids to a private school. Tone policing. Tone policing is an attack that focuses only on the manner in which an individual makes an argument instead of addressing the argument itself. An example of a tone policing argument is the following. Alice, I think that we should increase the federal spending on education. The current situation is unacceptable in many of the poorer areas of the country, and children are suffering because of it. They suffer because of spending on state education anyway. Okay, no need to get so worked up over these things. Alice, but do you think about the situation? What do you think about the situation? Bob, I think that you shouldn't be so emotional about it. Traitorous critic fallacy. Argumentum ergo decido. The traitorous critic fallacy, also known as argumentum ergo decido, is a logical fallacy which involves telling an individual who criticises something that they should stay away from whatever it is they are criticising if they don't approve of the current situation. An example of a traitorous critic argument is the following. I think that as a country we are not spending enough on healthcare. That's by Alice. Bob, well, if you don't like it here, then you should just leave and go somewhere where they have the kind of healthcare that you want. Association fallacy. The association fallacy is a logical fallacy which occurs when someone is attacked based on their supposed connection to something which is unrelated to the discussion at hand. An example of an association fallacy argument is the following. I think that we should increase the federal spending on education. Not fucking education again. I don't think you should. No, I think we should just do away with state-run education altogether, and we should teach children the trivium and the quadrivium. Bob, well, the Nazis also thought that, so you are like the Nazis. Abusive fallacy. The abusive fallacy is a logical fallacy which occurs when an argument simply attacks an individual in a direct and abusive manner, instead of addressing the point that they are trying to make. An example of the abusive fallacy argument is as follows. I think that we should increase the federal spending on education. Again, don't. Bob, I think that you are a moron and that nobody cares about your opinion. That's it for that one. There's a lot of stuff there about spending on fucking education. Fuck that, just get rid of the Prussian education, state-run Prussian education system using the servile and utilitarian arts. Teach them children what to think. Let's get to the teaching them the liberal arts, the trivium, the quadrivium, and teaching children how to think and how to learn. Not what to think and what to learn. The next one will be on how to counter an ad hominem argument. Thank you.